Hello, duelists. Today I'm going to be showing you some games from my win streak in Master Rank. I am playing Snake Eyes FTK again. That is what I call the deck. You know, what I want to talk about, what I want to make the theme of this video is the fact that, yes, I am playing an FTK deck, but it is a very flexible deck that can play out of a variety of situations and win in games where you don't FTK. So let's go ahead and get started here for a bit. You know, with the last video I made, it's like I was honestly a little baffled because I had like all of these people commenting that were mad about the fact that I won games without FTKing, right? They're like, "Oh, you said this is an FTK deck, but you lied to us. I know it's not." And it was very strange, to be honest. And, you know, I've been playing Yu-Gi-Oh! For a long time, on and off. And what makes an FTK deck good, and, you know, historically what the best FTK decks have been, like Frog FTK, these are all decks that had an FTK that they could get pretty regularly, but then had some flexibility for games they didn't FTK, right? And obviously for a game like this where my opponent is going first, what we really want is, you know, a lot of hand traps to stop our opponent's interaction. That's what we opened with in this game. And just some battle damage, right? The FTK aspect of this deck doesn't really matter. One thing that I do like about Snake Eyes, though, is that I think it is one of the decks that fares better when it goes second. I'm not saying it's a deck that wants to go second. I'm not even saying you're going to have a positive win rate when you're going second, but you generally have more hand traps, more interactions for those going second games than like a lot of other decks in the format, other than like Tenpai Dragons, of course. They're the exception. So yeah, we just Ash here. Then I believe our opponent passes, and we just kill him. This is just kind of a normal Snake Eyes game, I'm not going to lie. Opening like 3 hand traps, though, is kind of lucky. He did Ash the max. So yeah, I just go for original spoils, and our opponent just scoops. I guess he didn't really have much. But, you know, he kind of used up his resources and decided to call it a day. We do have some FTKs in here, though. You can see there's some games where we, you know, where we FTK'd. Well, let's go ahead and watch the second one. I believe out of these 6 games, I think it was roughly half and half regarding who went first. I think I went first for 3 and our opponent went first for 3. This game, yeah, our opponent's going first again. And this hand is actually not very strong, if I'm being quite honest with you. But our opponent's hand is even weaker. Tearlets are a pretty strong deck, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I take a sec to think here, realize we can just imperm this guy, use Called by the Grave on the other guy, so our opponent can't mess with our grave. And then the hope is just kind of that we OTK from there. That was the idea. And our opponent just scooped because, you know, he figured we had an OTK. A lot of games tend to be like this. I know this isn't exciting, guys. I know, I mean, this is kind of what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is right now, right? It's who gets to pop off first, right? Can you stop your opponent from popping off? Can they stop you from popping off? That's just all the meta is. And Snake Eyes FTK, what I like about it is that it sort of goes over the top of other decks. It's saying like, hey, if you can't stop my combo, I'm not just going to set up a board with a bunch of negates and, you know, let you try to fight back. You're actually just going to be dead. So I think this game is just an FTK. This deck, by the way, you know, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It has 11 one-card FTKs. And, yeah, with this game, we opened a lot of gas because we had a Millennium monster and a Witch. Both of those by themselves are one-card FTKs. And yeah, I decided to use Called by the Grave here. I'm not sure if our opponent scoops this game or if he actually lets us play out the FTK. Okay, this game he just scooped too. But this would have been an FTK. I know we have at least one true FTK in here though. So let's, I think it's this one. I think this game, our opponent actually does let us FTK. I think this game actually we FTK'd through Droll, which the deck can't always FTK through Droll, but sometimes it can. It depends on sort of the exact combination of cards that you have. So yeah, I try to see if our opponent has like a Veiler or an Imperm. He does not. And then I normal summon Poplar. Yeah, and then he Drolls us. So Droll at this point doesn't do anything, right? Like, I could use Called by the Grave on Droll, but there's no reason. We're literally not going to search for the rest of the turn, so no point. We're going to save the Called by the Grave for, you know, like an Ash Blossom mainly. So the way that I'm playing this out, it's a little different because we opened Poplar, but it's the same idea. I believe we don't even grab the Snake Eyes Ash this game. Because we don't need to. We can FTK without it. The main reason of playing Ash is to search Poplar, but we already had Poplar. And then yeah, we sack the equip spell, go into Flamberg, and we're putting a random monster in our spell or trap zone because we need that for the FTK. Then I'm bringing back Link Karibo here so that I can trigger Flamberg when it dies. So Flamberg resolved, we bring back 2 guys, we use Sequence, put 2 more guys in play. And this is actually, in this case, we're gonna do more than enough damage to FTK. It's gonna be like 9,000 points of burn, I believe. Then we go into Ptolemy, that is essential for the FTK. Just add back Wallace to my hand just because why not? Then we go Proxy into our Blaze Phoenix. So yeah, now we're just putting stuff on the board so our Blaze Phoenix deals more damage. So yeah, we only need 8 cards in play to FTK. At this point, we have 9. So it's actually going to be more than enough damage. Then we burn him again. Go into our Link 4 part of the combo. Go into Zealantis. And then we're going to blink all our guys and burn our opponent again, so he just scoops. And yeah, sometimes people will let you play out the FTK, because a lot of people don't understand how it works. Really, our opponent could have scooped like a long time ago, but he didn't know how we were going to kill him. So that's the FTK, but you'll notice, you know, we won 4 games, only one of them was an FTK. That's what makes the deck actually good, is the fact that you don't have to FTK. And the reason that you play the Solomon Great Link is that there is actually a battle damage OTK with that for the games that you're going second. Now, you won't do it often, but, you know, it's kind of just another tool in your toolbox. And yeah, it looks like our opponent's going first. I didn't really know what the hell my opponent was doing this game. This game, like, I think our opponent was just trolling or something. This is not a very exciting game, I'm not gonna lie. He just sets a back row and passes, and then I think we just put some battle damage in play and kill him. Oh, actually what happens is he maxes us here. We discard Lurie, he goes maxi. And I felt our best shot of winning the game was just to go for it. We get a battle phase, and if we like can't do quite enough damage, it's like main phase 2, we can burn him for more, which is, you know, kind of nice. You know, the optimal play here is to try to put lethal in play while special summoning the least number of times. Frankly, I don't know if I did that. I'm just being totally honest. There might have been a way that we could special summon fewer times and still accomplish the same goal. But what I want to do at some point is, I want to go to battle phase, force out, like, Nibiru if he has it, and then, we could theoretically, like, bonfire and keep going. And yeah, here I just decided to go, like, sequence and just use sequence's effect. Our opponent doesn't have a response. He can't, like, imperm if he has that. Yeah, so at this point, I just decide, like, okay, let's not get too greedy. Let's just go to battle phase. Our opponent could have... Yeah, he could, like, play a bestial monster to stop some damage. But the nice thing is, like, if he does that, again, main phase 2, we can just burn him for the rest. And last game here. And then after the last game, I'll show the deck list. It's pretty much the same deck list I've had for my prior videos, but I did, like, change a couple of cards. So yeah, we are going first, and if our opponent has no hand trap, this would be an FTK. What's interesting, though, this is, like, a very strange play. People will normally not Ash Poplar. Usually they will save Ash for, like, a higher impact card, but the fact that we can't search our field spell off Poplar actually stops us from FTKing. So yeah, it's kind of a weird game, if I'm being totally honest. It's kind of a weird game, because our opponent, like, used his Ash Blossom very suboptimally, but it's actually, like, kind of good for him here. So what we have to do is try to set up the best board without FTKing. And I was sort of running the numbers in my head, trying to figure out, like, oh, can we put enough cards in play to FTK? Because the Blaze Phoenix needs 8 cards to FTK. Eventually, though, I realized I would not have enough cards to FTK. I'd be 1 short. I could put 7 cards in play, but not 8. So yeah, we're just gonna try to, like, set up a good board. That's sort of the idea here. And it's like we've got an imperm and a droll, right? So if we set up any kind of decent board, like, I feel reasonably safe, right? So yeah, just kind of like Frog FTK, where it was like, hey, if I can't kill my opponent, I'll just sort of end on a good board. This deck is same idea. If I can't kill my opponent, I'm just gonna end on a good board. And yeah, here's kind of the turning point where I have to decide, like, if I can FTK or not. I realized I couldn't. So instead of, the next step of the FTK would be to go into Proxy Magician. But yeah, I realized we'd be coming up a little bit short, because we were going to have 5 monsters in play with 2 cards in the Spell or Trap Zone, the Witch plus the Imperm. And 5 plus 2 is 7, you need 8 cards to FTK, so I'm like, okay, well, we can't do that then. So I just decided to bring back the good old Flamberg. Put Promethean in my grave. And then I just go ahead and decide, okay, I'm just gonna make 4 material Appaloosa. I'll be honest, like, you don't use Appaloosa a lot in this deck. It is very rare. Like, if you don't have Appaloosa, I'd say you could still play this deck and actually still get a pretty decent win rate, if I'm being totally honest. But yeah, it's exactly situations like this where you want the Appaloosa. So yeah, our opponent uses Small World to search, we droll him. And I don't know, I mean, obviously here, if our opponent wants to special summon a monster, we could approach it a few different ways. We could bring back Princess and just, kill whatever our opponent special summons. I decided to just use up some of my Appaloosa fuel. Our opponent plays Lingaribo, and that triggers. And I just negate here just to stop this from coming back. I'm like, okay, you've used your normal summon. What do you do now? And the answer is nothing. End phase, I go Flamberg into Witch. Witch is going to search the quick play. And my opponent just scoops because he realizes there's nothing he can do. We've still got Engraver in our grave, which is great for these grindy games. So yeah, that like kind of gives you an idea of how this deck works. And you'll notice I've been winning like a lot of games, right? We had a 7-win streak followed by like a 6-win streak. So it is a very good deck. I'm going to show you the list. There's not a lot to talk about. I really do. I know like some people will say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I think this is the best way to play Snake Eyes Millennium. That is my opinion. Because you get to play the exact same, exact same main deck you always play. But then anytime you open a Millennial monster, it's an FTK. Anytime you open a Bonfire, it's an FTK. Anytime you open a Black Witch, it's an FTK, if your opponent doesn't have interaction. The one flex slot in the extra, right now I'm putting Little Knight in there. I had something different there before, but decided to put Little Knight in because Little Knight can be used to FTK through Retaliating Sea. So when you drop the Divine Temple of Snake Eyes, this has an effect that special summons, so your opponent can use Retaliating Sea on it. And then the fact that it shuts down your graveyard will mess with your combos. But you can just say, oh, you're playing Retaliating Sea? Boom, go into Little Knight, banish your Retaliating Sea, continue to combo. So that's why that's there. Based on the comments that I get from this people, I feel like this deck is really misunderstood, right? People like either think it's not an FTK deck or something. But again, it is a flexible FTK deck, right? It's like Frog FTK. We go for the FTK. If we can't do it, we end on a big board. If we're going second, well, it's not really an FTK then, is it? Because we're going second. We can just use something like Raging Phoenix for the battle damage OTK. Or just put a bunch of random monsters into play, attack for game. Doesn't really matter. I think this deck is very strong. I've been doing well in Master with it. I've been doing well in the Duelist Cup with it. There will be a video on that coming soon. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. If you're confused about like how this deck FTKs, we had one example in this video, but if you want to see more examples, then go click on this video over here. This video goes through all of the FTKs that this deck has. It is a very good deck. So I would watch that video and I would consider giving this deck a shot.